Hey there, wonderful matrix. Welcome to Educate. Let us do this question 2 from last year, November 2024. It says the diagram below represents a part of the female reproductive system. So you must be able to kind of recognize all the parts that were given there. So let's just try to label each and every part so that it becomes a bit easier for us to see. You can see that this portion is more like this side that has got the fallopian tubes, right? You can see that B, it is the ovaries, okay? So these are the ovaries. So if it's one, we're just going to say it's an ovary. And then there's something here, there's an arrow pointing to something, and this is a round thing that is coming from the ovary. What is released from the ovary? We already know that it is an ovum, because primarily that is the function of an ovary, to produce an ovum. And then part A, what is it? It is like, you can see that it looks like a hand. It looks like a hand. It continues, because here we are only showing a part of a female reproductive system, not completely all, just a part. So it's just more like a half of the female reproductive system. So it looks like a hand-like structure, and that is the fallopian tubes. And then we're just gonna label that. This will be the fallopian tube. And then now you can see that within the fallopian tube, we've got little boys here, and these little boys are moving. These are little boys, and these are sperm cells. So these are sperm cells, although they are not given a label, but it is quite good to analyze them. You can see that there are more sperm cells that are coming towards the fallopian tube. Hey, basically, so these sperm cells, as they are moving towards the fallopian tube, they are trying to meet the ovum. So these are your sperm cells, and they are trying to meet the ovum. So we can now get a bit of an intuitive idea, English, but an intuitive idea that what is happening here, of what's happening. So here they say identify part A. We've already done that. We've said that part A, it is the fallopian tube, and part B, it is the ovary. So done with that. Now 2.1.2 is important. It says give two characteristics of the endometrium that makes it suitable for implantation. Why does implantation has to happen on the endometrium? Because you can see that from this diagram, we do have an endometrium here. Remember, at the endometrium, that's where the baby actually implants. Okay, let's just call it a blastocyst. That's where a blastocyst or a blastula implants. All right. So what makes the endometrium the best place to do that? Because the baby, if it was going to implant in a maybe in the fallopian tube, that will definitely going to die. Okay, so basically for the baby to live and so that the baby can be born perfectly, they must implant within the endometrium. Why is the endometrium the best place for that? Remember that the endometrium has got characteristics that make it the most suitable. So we can say 2.1.2. The endometrium, it is what? It is thicker. So the endometrium, it is thick. So the fact that the endometrium it is thick, it actually means that it will be able to cushion the blastula. When it grows, it will be able to cushion it, because if you are going to be on top of something thick, you will feel a bit more comfortable. Just like your mattress is thick, it has got that thickness. So when you sleep on top of it, it is more comfortable than sleeping on the floor directly. So the endometrium, it is thick. That's one of them. A suitability, that's one of the features that make it to be suitable, that makes it to be suitable for implantation. So it is thick, but then they say they want to here. You can also say that the endometrium has got a lot of blood vessels. Okay, so it is rich in blood vessels. Why is this an adaptation, or why is this a suitability? Remember, the blood vessels, such as the arteries and the veins, their main function is to transport oxygen and nutrients to the fetus. So the fetus, for it to be able to develop until it becomes a full-grown baby and probably be born after 9 months, what must happen? It must be able to eat. It must be able to feed. And how does it feed? It does not use its mouth, because its mouth is basically developing. Okay, it's not like babies are always chewing what we are chewing as well. No, the baby actually gets nutrients through the blood. Okay, it gets the nutrients through the what? Through the blood. So when the mother eats, the craving stuff like that, those pregnant lady stuff, cravings and whatnot. So when the mother eats, what will happen? That food, the nutrients will go into the blood, and those nutrients will be able to be transferred to the fetus so that the fetus can also eat. So the mothers always eat for two when they are pregnant. Okay, that's something very sacred. So basically, it is rich in blood vessels for the supply of oxygen um, and nutrients. And another thing, you can just say it is glandular as well. It is something that you can mention as well, but we only want two. So the endometrium is also glandular. And then now they say they want visible reasons. Now they say give two. They want two still here. They want two visible reasons why there is an increased chance of fertilization in this female. Guys, they said, why is there an increased chance in this female, the female that we have been provided for? We have been given her reproductive system. This is her reproductive system. We are talking about this female's reproductive system, not any other female. Just don't be general on this. They said in this female. So in this female, what are visible reasons? The word visible or observable reasons, they want something that you can see from the diagram that makes you to say that this female has got a better chance or an increased chance of fertilization, has got an increased chance of falling pregnant. What in the diagram testifies for that statement? Remember, for fertilization to take place, we need two things. We need a sperm cell, we need an ovum, so that their nuclei can be able to fuse into each other. And then when they fuse into each other, they will eventually make a zygote. Fertilization has already taken place there. So here, from the diagram, what can make us to say that? What is visible in the diagram? What can make us to say that fertilization has got a better chance of taking place here? We have got sperm cells in the fallopian tube. So you can say that the fallopian tube has sperm cells. So let's just write it here. So there are sperm cells in the fallopian tube. So sperm cells in the fallopian tube. So you can see that these sperm cells are very close, that they are getting very closer to the ovum. Okay, you can see that here there's just a smaller distance. So the moment the ovum is being moved by this fallopian tube, it will definitely get a chance. It has got an increased chance of getting fertilized by one of those sperm cells. You can see that here we have got sperm cells in the fallopian tube, and we also have got other sperm cells that are coming towards the fallopian tube. You can add that because remember, I commented on this man's diet because he has got a higher sperm count. You can see there's a lot of sperm cells that are coming to this lady. So there is no possible way that this lady won't fall pregnant because the man is healthy. All right. So basically, they are more mortal sperm cells, or you can say that there is a large number of sperm cells. That's one of the visible reasons. Something that you can see that increases the chances of fertilization. Basically, if there are millions of sperm cells like this, there's only one ovum. There is no way that this ovum cannot be fertilized. One of them has to win the battle. All right. So the sperm cells, they're in the fallopian tube, or you can say that we've got sperm cells, many sperm cells around. So you are talking about something that you can see. Remember, it is something visible from the diagram. It's not something that you are thinking with your mind. Grade 12s. All right. They say two visible reasons. What other thing can we see here from the diagram? Remember, we need two things for fertilization to take place. We need sperm cells, and we also need an ovum. You can see that the ovum is already there. That increases the chances of fertilization. If it had happened that this female has not released the ovum yet, let's just assume that ovulation had not taken place yet. It means that this female was never going to be able to fall pregnant, or was never going to be able to get fertilized. Okay, the ovum was not going to get fertilized because there is no ovum at all. It hasn't been released. So here, in essence, we can say that the ovum is present. So there is a present ovum. there is a present ovum. And you can see that from this arrow, it shows that this ovum, it is coming from the ovary. This ovum is being released by the ovary. The process whereby the ovum is being released by the ovary, it is known as ovulation. So you can say that ovulation is taking place because you are seeing the arrow suggesting that the ovum is coming out. It is getting out of the ovaries so that it can meet the sperm cells and probably get fertilized there. So that actually increases the chances. But get the gist of the question. Visible reasons, something that you are able to see, not something that you are theorizing using your mind. Cool. 2.1.3. So now 2.1.3 says identify and describe the type of gametogenesis that leads to the formation of structure C. Let's just open space here. It says identify, and then it also said describe. So we are given 6 marks. The question has got 2 parts. You have to identify. Let's now go. Which gametogenesis is occurring here in this diagram that leads to the formation of structure C? Remember, structure C, we have already labeled it to be an ovum. So which gametogenesis? It is leading to the formation of an ovum. Remember that we have got 2 types of gametogenesis. When we have gametogenesis, just means that we are producing gametes. We can either produce sperm cells, that's spermatogenesis. We can produce ova, that is oogenesis. So here for a female, we are producing ovum. You can see we are producing structure C. So we have to mention, because they say identify. So now let's identify which gametogenesis is this. It is oogenesis. That's the first mark. This is known as a compulsory mark. They usually put a star on it to say that it is compulsory. If you do not write the word oogenesis, even if you get the entire process correct, you are not going to get the mark, because here this is a hidden process. You are supposed to always mention the process that you are explaining before explaining it. Always tell us, what are you explaining? Don't just go ahead and tell us that we've got diploid cells undergoing mitosis. Where are the diploid cells coming from? What are we even talking about here? Give us an idea as the markers in the marking center who don't even know who you are, who don't even care who you are. We just want to see what you have written. Can you account for it? You start by telling us this is oogenesis process. Now you can describe it, because they say identify and describe it. Sometimes they won't tell you to identify it, but you need to always tell us. Always tell us, identify it, even though when not asked. It's a compulsory mark. So now here, what happens during oogenesis? We start with diploid cells. So we have got diploid cells, and then these diploid cells are in the ovaries. So diploid cells, they undergo mitosis. That's the first process. They undergo what? Mitosis first. So they undergo mitosis. So in the ovary, we have got diploid cells. Diploid just means that is cells that have got what? That have got 46 chromosomes. So cells that are diploid with a diploid number of chromosomes, or cells that have got 46 chromosomes, they undergo mitosis. And when they undergo mitosis, they form a lot of follicles. So this is to form numerous follicles. So to form numerous follicles. So they undergo mitosis to form numerous follicles. So you can be given a mark for this and then a mark for that. So this is undergo mitosis. So basically, the diploid cells that we're having in the ovary, they will start multiplying. They will start multiplying through the process of mitosis. They will start multiplying through the cell division of mitosis. Okay, so here they are becoming many. So the diploid cells here, they are undergoing mitosis. And then now when we have got numerous follicle, what will happen to those follicles? Remember that those follicles are so small, so we need a hormone that will be secreted during puberty. And that hormone is known as FSH. So basically here, we have got FSH that will be secreted. So basically this is under the influence of FSH. So we're going to say this is under the influence of FSH. You can say that this is happening during puberty. Okay, I'm not sure if that's going to be a mark, but this is happening during puberty. So under the influence of FSH. What will the FSH do? What do we need the FSH for? The FSH that is secreted by the pituitary gland. Why do we need it here in this case? We need it so that it can grow the follicles to become bigger, to become a Graafian follicle. So here under the influence of FSH, so follicles, they develop or they grow. So they mature, they develop or they grow to become Graafian follicles under the influence of FSH. So we are trying to say that FSH, it is the one that is causing this. FSH is the one that is causing these follicles to become bigger and bigger, because these follicles have been formed when diploid cells were multiplying continuously. So now we just need what? FSH, and FSH will make those follicles to become bigger and bigger, and they will become a Graafian follicle. And then what will happen to this Graafian follicle? Remember that the Graafian follicle, it has got a cell inside it. So the Graafian follicle, it looks like this, and inside it, it has got a cell. It has got a cell. So here, what will happen to this cell? So here, this is still under the influence of FSH. All of it is under the influence of FSH. So now you can say that a cell inside. So we have got a cell inside the Graafian follicle. So we are talking about this small llanyana cell inside the Graafian follicle. So a cell inside the Graafian follicle undergoes meiosis. Please be careful with the process. Now, the cell here, it doesn't undergo mitosis, it undergoes meiosis. Okay, please be careful with the cell divisions. So first here, remember, the diploid cells are the ones that undergo mitosis. But after we now have a Graafian follicle, which is just a follicle that has got a cell inside, a cell that looks like this cell will undergo meiosis now. So when it undergoes meiosis, we know that it will form what? It will form four haploid cells. So let's just call them haploid cells. So it just means that when it undergoes meiosis, remember meiosis always has got 4 cells that are coming from only one cell. One cell divides to form 2 cells, and those 2 cells will divide again to form another 2 cells. That is 4 cells. So here we are forming 4 haploid cells. But not all of the haploid cells are going to become ovumes. They're not going to all become ovumes. Let's just say ovumes, because the ova is kind of freaking me out. So here, not all of them are going to become ovumes. So I'm not trying to say that you should write ovum. The plural for ovum, it is ova, something like this. So not all of them will become that. They won't become egg cells. Don't use the word egg cells, by the way. So why is that? I don't know. But basically, only one will survive. Only one of those 4 cells survives. Only one cell survives to form an ovum, a mature ovum. You can say it in your own fancy English and whatnot, but only one of them will survive. So we're just going to take at least 6 marks from this. Yes, at least 6 marks from this. But okay, we're actually going to take only 5 marks from this. The first mark, you must write oogenesis. If you don't write the word oogenesis, you've got 5 marks. The maximum that you can get is 5 marks, no matter how many points you may put. Now, 2.1.4, the last one. 2.1.4 says in an ectopic pregnancy, so we've got a condition known as an ectopic pregnancy, the fertilized ovum can become implanted in part A. So a fertilized ovum, it can become implanted in part A in that condition known as ectopic pregnancy. So now this normally results in the death of the embryo. So the embryo will actually die. This zygote won't develop to become a fetus successfully. So this embryo will just die. And this can also endanger the mother's life. So the mother can actually even end up getting conditions from that, or end up dying herself. So now explain why an ectopic pregnancy may result in the death of the embryo. Remember, the ectopic pregnancy, they have said that here the fertilized ovum, which is the zygote basically. In practical terms, it is the zygote. It is going to implant in part A. And according to our labels earlier on, remember that part A, it was a what? It was a fallopian tube. So part A, it is a fallopian tube. So should the embryo, should the fertilized ovum implant in the fallopian tube? No, not at all. The fallopian tube is just for fertilization. The embryo, the blastocyst, I mean, it must be able to move all the way and implant here at the endometrium. Remember, we've already told you guys the characteristics of the endometrium that makes it the best place for implantation. We've said that the endometrium, it is thick, it is vascular, it is glandular, it has got many blood vessels to transport more oxygen and what to the and nutrients to the fetus, to the embryo, so that it develops to become a fetus and become a baby. So here at this point, if the baby was to implant here, would it get all of that? Because it won't get all of that. That makes no sense, because no one told us that the fallopian tube has got many blood vessels, it is vascular, it is glandular, it is thick. That is not found in the fallopian tube. So if the fertilized ovum will implant at this position, basically nothing will happen. Basically the embryo will die. All right, so the embryo will die. So here now you have to explain why the ectopic pregnancy or the implantation of this embryo at the fallopian tube, why will that result in the death of the embryo? Now you mentioned that here the fallopian tube does not have many blood vessels. So here you can say fallopian tube. Write it in your own words, but it must be in the same context to describe that the fallopian tube does not have many blood vessels, or it is not enriched with many blood vessels. Because how does that affect now? Does not have many blood vessels. So now how does that affect? How does that cause the embryo to die? Remember, for the embryo to live, it needs nutrients, it needs oxygen. It can never get oxygen and nutrients if there are not enough blood vessels. So it does not have many blood vessels to transport nutrients, to transport nutrients and what? To transport nutrients and oxygen to the embryo. So this will lead to the embryo's death. So leading to embryo's death. So that's why the embryo will not live. So the embryo will basically, so basically the embryo will not be able to live. Alright, so basically the embryo will not be able to live because we do not have what? We do not have the fallopian tube that has got blood vessels to transport nutrients and oxygen to the embryo. So once the embryo does not have those two, it will not be able to live and it will eventually die. So this is how you explain the effect of ectopic pregnancy on the embryo. How does it end up causing the embryo to die instead of living? You can also mention other points to say that here the embryo, if it was going to implant here at the fallopian tube doesn't have thickness. It is not thick and there is less space in the fallopian tube. So if this embryo was to grow in the fallopian tube, it will actually endanger the mother's life. The fallopian tube will become swollen. The fallopian tube is just a tube. It is not supposed to become bigger and bigger and bigger. So if the baby was to implant there, what will happen? That will cause a serious problem. So you can mention all of those points and you'll get your full 3 marks. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends to stay tuned.